Billions.
Turns out a member of their congregation
No, they're both in
Oh, really? We got a call from Brian just as we were walking in. We said, "Call back." He's got a new job.
Yeah.
Marketing director.
That guy got 1,000.
The Paul person.
Oh, right.
We're going to start that in a couple weeks.
Somebody in a red picture.
10 years later, more of a summary of the
Okay.
Like sitting behind the choir. Where are we singing this? Second from the end? Okay.
gives them their homework assignments. Sometimes they do it, and sometimes I had a rotator cuff. I got to take a hike. I'm glad I did.
Yep.
5 years ago.
Are you still doing it?
No. Every time I go to the gym.
Now we are start off with
Shabbat Shalom. We'll begin our services the same way we always do, taking a moment of silent reflection, thinking about what the last week has been like, the highs, the lows, what you like to carry with you into the Sabbath, and what you'd like to leave behind. In a little bit, we'll get to some of the harder stuff that have happened in the last 24 hours. But first, I see a lot of faces here tonight who have been on healing lists, who have not been able to be in this space because they're going through difficult things and are here in this space. So I want to start the same way we always do, with moments of celebration, of positivity, of things that we are reminders of love and promise. So if there's something good in your life that has happened recently, let's fill this space with some of those things first. Go ahead.
We spent 2 days last weekend with our almost 4-year-old grandson in Chicago.
Oh, that's really nice. Spending time with the grandson. Yes, yes. Yes, Rachel.
Yeah, just as I was coming in, the sheriff's deputy knew my husband, and he was telling me things about him and the courtroom and how he had taught this young
Oh,
man.
wow.
That was really cool. It was such a shock.
So I'm going to repeat that into the microphone, that as Rachel was coming in, she saw the sheriff's deputy who knew her husband, the Honorable Judge Rosen, and knew him from court, and was able to tell Rachel
It's
something.
fun, wasn't it?
It's super fun, yes, yes. You had a great impact. Yes, Noel?
I am on my way to Cleveland tomorrow for my Aunt Nancy, my mother's sister's 85th birthday.
On his way to Cleveland for his aunt's 85th birthday. What else? Go ahead, Richard.
Our son Brian just accepted a new job as the marketing director for the Ashrei Emmett Jewish Day School in Chicago.
Wow, that's a really big deal. A new job for their son. The Jewish community, we need more of those kids. Yeah, wait.
I'm reading construction under John while under Dyke.
That is an amazing pair. I love the idea of Monica and John constructing together.
That was for Melodic.
For Melodic Connections, a great friend. That's wonderful. It was Archbishop Tuck. Yes.
After more than 4 months of being in nursing care and hospital care, I'm back home. I wish to thank everyone for your prayers and watching online whenever possible. It's good to be back home.
4 months of nursing care, first time back in services. It's really great to have you here. What else? Joyce?
Well, I was fortunate enough to participate in something this afternoon that had a terrible reason, that had a wonderful outcome. And that was a meeting at the Clifton Mosque to worship with the community, to support our brothers and sisters of the Muslim faith.
So Joyce and Walter and many of you here, we had a pretty big Jewish turnout, and with rapid response went down and was in prayer at Clifton Mosque, and it was a terrible reason to be together, but it was very powerful. Thank you for being there. Julie Guilfoyle even called, and she came brought fabric for everyone to cover their heads in case they didn't know to bring. What else? Oh, sorry, Dawn.
My 8-year-old son, Colin, just scored the highest score the teachers have ever seen in one of the standardized reading tests. He got an 860 out of 863, and as a result, they are looking at bumping him grades at his already gifted school. So.
Wow. So our 8-year-old son scored higher than any child that the teachers have ever seen, an 860 out of 863 on his reading test, and now they're thinking of bumping him a grade even in his already gifted school. That's amazing. 2 gifted children. Good luck. What else? Anything else? Well, I'm really glad that we're starting in that space. We have lots of different parts that will be happening in the service, but I just want to welcome those of you who are guests in this community who haven't been here for a while. Would anyone like to introduce themselves? Go ahead.
I'm Emily. I'm a student from Xavier, studying nursing. And
Great. Welcome, Emily. We're glad you're here. And you're sitting between the 2 perfect people for this. That's great. Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Gary Warshaw. I went to Temple here as a child, over through high school, and just moved back to Cincinnati and looking to reconnect.
Warshower?
Yes.
As in Stu and Gladys?
Yes.
Woo! You came in, yeah, that's like being here on a throne. Well, we're glad you're here. That's awesome. Prepared to be swooped in on. This group's good. So anyone on this side? Leslie, could please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Leslie. I'm going to be giving the sermon tonight.
Ooh, they got excited. I'm not going to take that personally. We're really excited about that. Anyone else? I think really good. Our couples are here. We're not. You're not really. Don't count as guests since you're part of us. In memory of your parents who are here, I was thinking a lot about Werner. Trudy also, but I knew her in a different way. That they're here. Werner is the one who brought us this Holocaust Torah and continues even in death to be larger in life for us. And I always think about these moments of tragedy in our community and what Werner would say. He's still someone who has such a great impact on me, and I'm sure so much of us here in that way. So thank you for also coming here to honor him. I'm sure that's true for many of us. It's my first memory of Temple Sholom was with Werner Koppel. Anything else like that? No? No? Okay. My mom's always online, and she's here today, but she has a cold, so thank you for the front row. That's brave, Mama. Yeah. So I want to welcome our online community, that even though you're not with us in our physical space, that you are part of our community, and we rejoice in you, and we're thankful that you're choosing to pray along with us. So we will begin by welcoming the Sabbath on page 2 and 3 with the lighting of the candles. And I welcome Gail up to light the candles. Gail and Larry have sponsored the oneg in memory of Larry's mother. And thank you for doing that. You organized the post meal and the pre-meal today. You're feeding the whole community.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Or source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
I'm sure just like many of you, I woke this morning to the news of the shooting in a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand, where 49 worshipers were murdered. And I was surprised at myself, and I'm actually surprised in this moment of feeling this emotion of that I felt the exact same way as I did when I found out about Pittsburgh. It's just I felt very tearful. I felt pain. I felt fear. And I also was motivated into action very quickly. And I think that we tell ourselves, well, if it happens to me, I will feel the same way as it would happen to somebody else. Like we want to be that kind of person, but we aren't really. Like we care first for our inner circle and then the next circle and next. And that makes sense that we build these barriers and strength around that. And I think that for me, there was this realization that what was us or we is just slightly bigger than it was a few years ago. That the arms are a little bit bigger. And I also know that in the moment when I first found out about Pittsburgh, the first person who wasn't Jewish to reach out to me was my friend Jen Chartier, who was the wife of the imam at Clifton Mosque. And so I reached out to her 7:30 this morning, and I said, I'm thinking of you. And she said, I know, and you are my first person too. And we were the first people to sort of connect that way. And I don't know if you remember, about a year and a half ago, there was a shooting in a mosque in the U.S., and we did this too. We said, everyone show up today, show up at the mosque. And there were 3 of us who came. And today, well, there was at least, 20, 25 Jews, besides everybody else who showed up, that perhaps we've learned something in this short amount of time, or maybe that circle just got a little bit bigger. Or maybe we're looking at courage in a different way. That I think the first time we got together as Jews after Pittsburgh was full of fear. It was scary to be in a room with that many people, and no matter how much we had talked about security, it still was uncomfortable. And I felt that a little bit today too, that to go into this very big space and to not know everyone around me and to know that they had done everything we could to secure us, and yet in this world we are never fully safe. And I think something that our congregation has done really well is to learn to reach our arms out even when it's uncomfortable, even when things are being said that are not the same as our faith or our political spectrum, or just outside of who we are, and to still to expand and to find connections and remind ourselves that our humanity, our connected humanity, is what's most important. So I was thinking about what my friend Imam Ishmael had to do to this evening, what he's doing right now actually, and what he did at noon, and then again at 2, and the calls he had to have, and the conversations he had to have with his community, that we get. We get in this really deep way. That Jews can understand that even if we want to disagree about Israel or our current administration or whatever it is, that this we get. The burden of leading community in really volatile times. And the burden of having to show up anyways. To enter spaces, to keep risking, and to believe in love and possibility and God and community more than any of the hate. So So I'm proud of all of you for being in here today. It's not the same thing, but I imagine many of you were triggered the same way that I was this morning. So we get it, and we channel that get-itness into this moment, and then into action, and then into prayer, and then into grief, and then into action, and back around and round and round. Unless we think that showing up doesn't matter, then we forget what happened in the last year and a half, that we went from 3 to 30, right? So we tenfold got bigger, and that the next time might be bigger and bigger and bigger, and soon our showing up for others will be bigger than all that darkness that's coming at us. And so in this spirit, we're going to continue with our Just Love song, which is You Are Not Alone. And they were just teasing me, the choir, like, oh, we can sing in this, because we do it in Hebrew and English. We should sing in this language, this language. I was like, we can sing it in 4 different languages. And because that circle is expanding too, that this community that we've built first started as Jews and others, and now it's just for us. And that we're creating liturgy as part of all of it. So some of you will know it, but it's really easy. It's just You Are Not Alone, and the Hebrew is Ata Lo Levad. First they came for trans people, and I spoke up because God doesn't make mistakes. They came for the African Americans, and I spoke up because I am my sister's and my brother's keeper. And then they came for the women, and I spoke up because women hold up half the sky. And then they came for the immigrants, and I spoke up because I remember the ideals of our democracy. And then they came for the Muslims, and I spoke up. See, it's there. And then they came for the Muslims, and I spoke up because they are my cousins and we're one human family. Let's read the rest together, because I don't know, I'm having a problem. And then they came for the Native Americans, and Mother Earth and I spoke up, because the blood-soaked land cries and the winds weep. They keep coming and we keep rising up, because we Jews know the cost of silence. We remember where we came from, and that we will link arms, because when you come for our neighbors, you come for us. And that just is the same thing. We're going to continue with a joyful song. Rejoicing in Lechadodi, welcoming Shabbat as if she were a bride, on page 20, verses 1 to 5 and 9. We remain standing as we continue on page 26 with Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikadal v'yikada shemei rabba.
Amen.
Ma divra hirute v'yamlich malhute.
B'chayei kol yom echad u'chayei kol beit Yisrael. Hagala u'zman kari v'yimeru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam lo be'omaya yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yibar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei d'kedusha Elom yircho v'chata v'shirata
Tushbehata lelechem ata da'amira me'oma v'yimeru amen.
Continue on page 28. As the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we offer a blessing for twilight. For twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and one. We are in between roles at the intersection of histories, or between place and place. We are crossed paths of memories and destination, streaks of light and swirled together. We are neither day or night. We are both, neither and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our way to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. May the in-between people who have come to pray be lifted up into this twilight. We cannot always define, we can always say a blessing. Blessed are you, God of all, who brings on twilight. We continue together responsibly at the bottom of page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol.
All these things your Torah gives to us.
And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives.
What could be a truer token of your abiding love
than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Ba'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Ba'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. We're on page 36. Let's read together on page 39 at the top. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. That wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. That there is a better place, a promised land. That the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. That there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together.
We
continue with our Hashkivenu prayer, we're going to do the Let There Be Love and Understanding version of this. I haven't done this in a little bit, but I'll just do a reminder that we have these postcards that we fill out, and you can do this in different ways. There's green ones out there also, and there's all different kinds if you like to pick and choose, but we do this in support, that it's your Jewish brothers and sisters stand in solidarity with you. And then it says it's from us, and we'll send it. And if you leave it here in the basket, I'll send it to, here I could send it to Westchester Mosque or the Clifton Mosque, whatever you choose, or I'll just make a choice. But to know that we're always in this together. And the Hashkivenu prayer is all about finding comfort even in darkness and even in uncomfortable places, that when we are the best defense against enemies and fear and sorrow is community and love, and reminding that we're all part of it. So I'm going to pass this as we begin to sing it. Passing the joy of the covenant from generation to generation, just as we do this evening, page 44.
We rise for Tefillah on page 46.
Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Eloheinu,
On page 55, we recite together, "May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh Shabbat." You may be seated. We take a few moments for silent prayer. With the word shalom, peace, still on our lips, we turn our thoughts to those who are in need of some extra shalom, some extra refuah, some extra healing. If you would like to join me on page 253 for Misha Berach. This community is especially praying today for Roberta Applebaum, Barry Austern, Judy Avner, Mira Barner, Marcy Bain, Corinne Belford, Shayla Boniface, Loretta Hubbard, Chava Leah, Tricia Farver, Esther Sima, Dr. Merrill Goldman, Ethan Kadish, Gita Knudsen, Skylar Coons, Yael Kraus, Janet Kravitz, Lee Krennick, Elaine Heitfield, Mel Hudson, Tony Jonatas, Ira Lerner, Lou Levy, Julie Isaacson, Joan Lieb, Marcy Maxwell, Rhoda Meyer, Eileen Ness, Nancy Newmark, Phil Ryan, David Rose, Betty Roth, Bob Rubin, Aaron Reuter, Karen Schwartz, Ira Schoen, Kathy Singh, Archbishop Chuck Smith, Lisa Steele, Mary Capoletti Stanton, Francis Sternberg, Mahalia Stoneman, Lou Strauss, Susan Warschauer, Ann White, Haroldine Eukelson, Fran Victor, Chaim Ben Yaakov and Nechama. Are there any other names we'd like to add?
Julie Rich.
Sudak. Bob Rubin, Paul Colback, Nancy Stella, Sharon Slessman, Meredith Clapp.
Marvin Gabelder.
Alondra Johnson.
For all those named and unnamed, we sing Mishaberach Lecholim.
Before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
Now we take a moment for silent prayer. In his 2008 book, The Ascent of Money, Harvard professor Niall Ferguson teaches that money is not metal, it's trust inscribed. We've just finished with Parshiot Vayakel, Pekudei, the last 5 chapters of the book of Exodus, which are largely composed of priestly literature. Detailed records of the tabernacle, the priest's garments and ritual supplies, everything compiled from the combined donations from the Israelites' wealth taken from their masters in Egypt. The Levites, the priestly caste, were the financial experts of their time, keeping track of the valuables dedicated to God in the desert and later in the temples of Jerusalem. They gave livestock and coinage spiritual value. They did, as we learned in this week's Parsha, Vayikra. Currently, we are entering the whole book of Vayikra, Leviticus, and it naturally contains all sorts of Levite priestly material. Vayikra, the Torah portion, starts us off with a Levite's guide to sacrificial offerings. It's formulaic. If the sacrifice is for X, then you need Y, and then you need Z. From chapter 3, it reads, if an Israelite's offering is one of well-being, you need an unblemished herd animal. Then the recipe follows. In this system, we see that Ferguson's words are just as true. Money is trust inscribed. In this case, the trust is in Adonai. Then in chapter 5, we read, when a person sins and commits a trespass against Adonai, by dealing deceitfully with his fellow in the matter of a deposit or a pledge, or through robbery, or by defrauding his fellow, he shall repay the principal amount and add a fifth part to it. Then he shall bring it to the priest as his penalty to Adonai. He shall bring a ram without blemish from the flock or the equivalent as a guilt offering. The priest shall make expiation on his behalf before Adonai, and he shall be forgiven for whatever he may have done to draw blame thereby. This week, more than 50 people were indicted on federal charges in a massive college admissions cheating scandal just exposed. Hundreds of thousands of dollars poured into getting a couple of dozen kids into school. News sites are saying that the cheating uncovered is likely just the tip of the iceberg, a whole rigged system underneath. What sort of restitution can be made here to fit the crime? Money should be trust inscribed. Meanwhile, I'm over here with $200,000 worth of student loan debt just from graduate school. Yeah. Indebted scholar as I am, I like to get my books for free from the library. I have the Overdrive app on my phone, and I'm always looking for more dry academic books to listen to on audiobook. I will frequently check out a few books at a time on a particular subject, and last month I coincidentally chose money. The first book I read was called Dark Money. Its description says it all. Investigative journalist Jane Mayer shows in this powerful, meticulously reported history that a network of exceedingly wealthy people with extreme libertarian views have bankrolled a systematic, step-by-step plan to fundamentally alter the American political system. Money used to be trust inscribed. After Dark Money, I read The Color of Money by Mirza Baradaran, law professor at UGA. When the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863, the black community owned less than 1% of the United States' wealth. More than 150 years later, that statistic remains virtually the same. Baradaran pulls together what I'll call the conventional history, what press junkets and historians since have been writing about the policies supposed to promote black economic advancement, with evidence that has previously been left out of the conversation. Her analysis shows that economic policy and hidden racism have continued to undermine the ability of black capitalism to succeed. Money is supposed to be trust inscribed, but that trust is eroded when systems are rigged a dozen times over to funnel money to the top. The last book I read on theme was the first book that I mentioned, The Ascent of Money. It's more conceptual, than journalistic, describing trends and developments of financial institutions over time. Ferguson writes with affection towards the subject, noting where countries and leaders have made mistakes with money and documenting where they succeed. His analysis demonstrates a need for all of us to pay close attention to where money goes. Torah challenges us to be transparent about how our money affects others and make restitution to those harmed and to Adonai. Money can be trust inscribed again if we can see where it's going and how it can be used for good. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Leslie, for your words of Torah. I also want to thank Gail and Larry Zachem for sponsoring the oneg, for lighting the candles, John for being our usher tonight. I want to thank, we're going to have Larry and Marilyn come up in a second, so I'm pre-thanking you. I'll think afterwards. And to Micah for streaming and doing PowerPoint and tolerating me. Stephanie, I'm going to welcome up to share some brief announcements. And then Dr. Bailey, thank you for all that you do. Thank you to this amazing choir for filling this sanctuary with songs tonight. So Stephanie, here you go. And then, yeah. Here we go. Right.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Ryan. I'm on the steering committee, and I'm so glad this is written in huge print so I don't even have to put my reading glasses on. So kind of you. Don't forget to pick up your Purim baskets. Either tonight or Wednesday, the 20th at 6 p.m. If you have any questions, call Julie at the office. Judaism 101 is continuing. The next one is Sunday, March 17th. This is open to the whole congregation. Passover, whether it's your first Seder or your 100th, 10 to 10:45 a.m. Learn the basics about Passover. And join us for our Beatles-themed Purim spiel, which is going to be a huge one. Also, Shabbat is on March 22nd at 6:30. It's really cool and laid back, and
you already know a song.
Yeah, you already know a song, and you can wear whatever, you can sit wherever and sing whatever. And then the Women's Seder at Temple Sholem is on March 26th at 6 p.m. That'll be led by Rabbi Turlinchamp. So, if you would please, do you want me to do them?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
Thank you, Stephanie. Also, a quick heads up on Sunday for the for the Passover class. Isabel, hello Isabel, will be leading a master's class on her haroset. And if you have not tasted her haroset, so even if you think you know everything, you do not know how to make that. So I will be taking the beginners, and she will be taking the elite who want to sort of up their game in the haroset narrative. So if you need that, that plug wasn't in there. So thank you for that. I want to welcome Larry and Marilyn to share words of our prayer for our community. I don't have this in large font for you, but it's up there. You have it. Do you want to say
We're Marilyn and Larry Benjamin.
I'm Larry. So there's no who's there. Go ahead.
May Adonai, the source of life, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless this entire congregation of Temple Sholem, together with the synagogues in Cincinnati and all holy congregations in the world. Bless our community, our children, our families, and all that is theirs, along with those who unite to establish synagogues for prayer, and those who enter them to pray, those who devote countless hours of their lives so that our synagogue may be a thriving place of spiritual welcoming.
May the Holy One reward those who contribute to our community with healing, forgiveness, and personal strength. May God bless them by prospering all their worthy endeavors, as well as those of the entire people of Israel. And let us say, Amen.
We begin the conclusion of our service on 282 at the bottom. When you reach that page, please rise. 282 at the bottom.
Alleluia Shabbat Ladon Hakol Lateit Gidu Alil Sereshit Shelo Asanim Kikoye Haratzot Elo Samanu Kamishkavot Adama Shelo Samhel Kenu Hanem Begor Aleinu Kemo Amunam Ve'anachnu Holy Umishakalim
Leslie's going to read a new poem for us.
So a colleague of mine from HUC, Rabbi Alex Kress, wrote the following English adaptation of the Mourner's Kaddish after the shooting in Pittsburgh, and he republished it today. May the divine sparks of humanity be magnified and sanctified in our majestic world. May compassion and sympathy reign in our lives, in our everyday, and in the lives of the many houses of humanity. May our holiest principles guide our world towards an era overflowing with blessing, loving kindness, and respect, in which we revere, raise up, exalt, honor, and praise our diversity. Blessed is the unifying force whose web of life connects us all, whose blessings and hymns, praises and words of comfort remind us that we are part of something much greater than ourselves. May our lofty dreams for peace be realized through us and through all our neighbors on this earth by affirming the sanctity of life. May our human network be an endless source of peace and bestow all those in need with comfort, tranquility, and hope. As a whole made up of infinitely different parts, we say, Amen.
Our hearts go out to the bereaved families who lost 49 people this morning in prayer. We also call to mind all the anniversaries of the yard sites of the passing of Nina Weitzman, Warner Koppel and Trudy Koppel, Leonard Kogan, Franny Bernstein-Wright, Ilse Shergast, Martha Lassie, Ethel Goldner, Sam Rousseau, Gerson Kirshner, Bernice Stein, Anne Zachem, Harold Bernstein, Eli Halila, Thelma Boniface, Rose Daniels, Leo Grossman, Senta Weil, Edward Schwartz. There are others that you are remembering that you'd like to share those names with us. We'd like to hear them. If you are in mourning or commemorative yard sites, please rise first. We acknowledge you. We see you. Holding in our hearts all the people that you're here to memorialize. And sending you love and comfort. We rise together as a community of comfort for all those who mentioned out loud, those we hold in our hearts, and for all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them as we continue with our words of affirmation on page 294. Yitkadal v'kadash shemei rabba v'alma livrach l'irtei v'yanlich machlutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol be'Yisrael v'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru Yehei shmei rabba v'varach le'olam omei almaya Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei kedusha Leila min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imroma v'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Oseh shalom b'imroma Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. May their memories be a blessing. Please be seated. Since you guys are a bunch of hippies, I'm just joking, that's what I love about you. I want us to end in love, in celebration, and comfort, and connection. To our wine and our bread, we like to connect in prayer. If you are not a toucher, just say, no thanks, I'm not a toucher. If you're online, just put your hands out, whatever feels like you're working. Where are you going?
Bob Evans.
Bob Evans. Living the dream tonight. So we shul and then you fuel. Everyone's welcome to go to Bob Evans. Everyone's welcome. Gail here, who gave you your own egg, is also going to be your docent to Bob Evans, or whatever the word is. And I will just warn you, it's been a very long week. It's a very hard day. So I'm going to just zoom right out after services. I love you. I just need to be with my family tonight. So I love you. Just know that's what it is. So we'll connect together in prayer as we sing. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha Shalom 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 v'yasem lecha Shalom Shalom v'yasem lecha Shalom 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 v'yasem lecha Shalom Shalom v'yasem lecha Shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May Adonai's face shine upon you, be gracious unto you. And when God's face shall shine upon you, may it remind you of your courage and your love and your ability to stand up for others, because this is the way that we make the world a better place, which is with you in it. And together we say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.